Imagine opening someone's social media profile today. You scroll down and nothing. There are no recent photos, no vacation pictures, no spicy hot takes, no stories, nothing. In a modern world where oversharing is pretty much the default, these completely empty profiles really stand out as a modern mystery. Welcome to this explainer on the psychology of digital silence.
So let's dive right into this, because it's a completely fascinating paradox. These people are still online, right? They click, they scroll, they watch videos, and they message their friends. They know exactly what's happening in pop culture, yet they totally opt out of contributing to the digital stage. Why on earth would someone experience something incredibly exciting but feel absolutely zero desire to broadcast it to the world? What does it actually say about a person's psychology when they make that choice? Well, when we encounter an empty profile, our brains immediately go into overdrive. We just naturally start rattling off this whole list of wild assumptions. We think, oh, they must be super introverted, or wow, they're trying to be so mysterious. Maybe we assume they're incredibly insecure, or actually on the flip side, highly intelligent. We might even suspect they're hiding a double life, or that they're just plain antisocial. We project all these deep, hidden traits onto a completely blank canvas. But psychology tells us that human behavior really doesn't work quite that easily.
Actually, what's really interesting here is how this highlights a massive psychological trap we fall into basically every single day. We confuse observation with assumption. We look at an absence of behavior, like someone just not posting, and we invent a whole elaborate personality to explain it. But we forget that we're judging this silence heavily based on the context of our own hyper-sharing culture. Just because sharing your literal every move has become normal, it absolutely doesn't mean that not sharing is a symptom of some deep psychological flaw. Okay, let's peel back the first layer of this iceberg. A huge reason people don't post simply comes down to setting healthy boundaries. But we've got to distinguish privacy from secrecy. Secrecy implies fear, right? It says, there is something I don't want you to know. Privacy, on the other hand, is just an attitude. It simply says, I don't think you need to know. Someone might go on this gorgeous vacation and just think, wow, this is amazing. I just want to experience it in the moment, without feeling this nagging need to turn their lived reality into a digital performance for an audience of 300 people.
We also really need to dismantle the stereotype that silent posters are just timid. Look, shyness involves a genuine discomfort in social situations. Privacy is just about boundaries. Someone can be incredibly outgoing in real life, like literally the life of the party, talking to total strangers, maintaining a massive, thriving offline social network, yet intentionally keep their digital profile completely locked down and empty. They just hold this belief that their real life is their real life, and the internet doesn't automatically get a VIP pass to it.
And this brings us to a really foundational concept in psychology: self-presentation. As humans, we naturally care about how we're perceived. We choose our outfits carefully, we totally change how we speak to our boss versus how we talk to our best friend. But social media takes this totally natural drive and throws it onto a permanent, highly public digital stage. For some people, the intense pressure to constantly curate this perfect public image, always calculating if a photo makes them look successful or attractive or interesting enough, it's just exhausting. So they simply opt out to avoid the stress entirely. No post, no performance. It's that simple.
And you know, that exhaustion often stems from a deeply rooted question: what will people think? We actually have this evolutionary sensitivity to social evaluation. Back in the days of early humans, acceptance by the tribe literally meant survival, and rejection could quite literally mean death. Modern social media continuously hacks into those ancient psychological systems. A simple selfie suddenly becomes a widespread social evaluation with visible, quantifiable metrics. For someone who is highly sensitive to that kind of judgment, the simple act of hitting post can feel psychologically overwhelming. But hey, we have to be careful not to swing to the complete opposite extreme here. A super common myth is that people who never post are somehow these enlightened monks who just don't need validation from anyone. Yeah, that's way too simplistic. The human need for approval doesn't just magically disappear because your Instagram grid is empty. It just shifts offline. A non-poster is absolutely still getting their validation. They're just pulling it from real-world relationships, crushing it at their career, getting good grades, or even just chatting in private group texts. They just don't view a digital like as a meaningful currency for their self-worth.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next major psychological factor: social comparison. Social media is this wild environment where we constantly compare our own ordinary, everyday reality, including all our stress, our messy kitchens, our bad days, to the highly selected, heavily filtered highlight reels of everyone else. It is a completely rigged game. Many people realize pretty quickly that constant exposure to these highlights is genuinely toxic for their mental well-being. So their digital silence is actually a highly effective protective measure. They just stop playing the comparison game so they can protect their peace. We also have to remember that the internet is, at the end of the day, just a tool. And humans use tools very differently based on their natural temperaments. Think of the internet like a giant stadium. Some people are natural performers. They absolutely love being out on the field, creating, sharing, and soaking up the cheers. Others are natural observers. They love sitting in the stands. They prefer watching the game, learning, and reading up on the stats. They want to be part of the digital crowd, staying informed and entertained, without ever actually putting themselves in the spotlight.
There is also a very practical, highly rational reason for digital silence. Staying quiet online can be a brilliant form of long-term risk management. Hyper-aware individuals realize pretty quickly that visibility has a real cost. Every single random joke, every opinion, every party photo you post becomes part of this permanent digital footprint. Let's be real, what seemed hilarious at 17 might be a total liability at 25. So by rarely posting, they're intentionally keeping their exposure low, protecting their privacy, their reputation, and their future careers from the unpredictable, unforgiving permanence of the internet.
Okay, if you take away one thing from this entire explainer, let it be this, because it's the biggest myth we need to bust. We constantly confuse visibility with reality. We assume that if someone isn't showing us their vibrant social life, their cool travels, or their big promotion, then those things simply don't exist. But guys, the absence of evidence online is absolutely not evidence of absence in real life. A person can be wildly successful, incredibly well-traveled, and deeply fulfilled socially without ever broadcasting a single second of it to the public.
Think about why frequent posters do what they do for a second. When someone constantly posts photos at the gym or hiking up a mountain, they aren't just communicating with their followers, they're engaging in this process called identity reinforcement. They're repeatedly communicating to themselves, saying, "I am a fitness person," or "I am an adventurer." Silent posters just don't have that same psychological itch to publicly construct their identity. They do that internal work, internally. They express who they are through their real-world, day-to-day actions rather than throwing it up on a digital billboard.
And because they keep that identity internal, they inadvertently trigger what we can call the mystery effect. Humans absolutely hate incomplete information. We just can't stand it. So when someone's profile is a blank canvas, our brains instinctively rush in to fill the void. We project all these imaginative, dramatic stories onto them, ironically making them seem deeply, intensely mysterious. But here's the catch. That mystery usually isn't intentional at all. The person probably just couldn't care less about social media. But we're the ones interpreting their silence as this highly calculated, mysterious move.
Now, as much as we've talked about all these super healthy reasons for digital silence, I do want to take a second for a really crucial aside here. When is silence actually a red flag? The key thing to look for is change. If a person has a consistent baseline of privacy, like they've basically never posted, that is entirely normal. But if a highly active poster suddenly undergoes a severe digital withdrawal, and especially if that's combined with real-life isolation, dropping offline and away from friends, that is when psychology tells us to pay close attention. That sudden shift can be a major signal of burnout, severe stress, or depression. Context always matters.
But barring those sudden behavioral shifts, we really need to embrace the simplest explanation. We live in this hyper-connected world that constantly encourages us to overanalyze every tiny digital breadcrumb. Oh, they left me on read. What does it mean? They didn't post for their own birthday. What does it mean? Look, human beings aren't literal puzzles meant to be solved through internet clues. Honestly, the most profound psychological maturity we can develop is just the ability to accept uncertainty. We don't have to force deep, complex diagnoses onto an empty profile. Usually, they just don't enjoy posting.
Which leaves us with this final powerful thought. Your life doesn't become more meaningful because more people see it. Your identity is just so much larger than your digital footprint. Your happiness absolutely does not need an audience to be real, and your achievements don't require a flashy online announcement to hold value. So, ask yourself this. When you do share online, are you doing it to genuinely express yourself or just to convince an audience that you exist? As our digital world grows louder and more chaotic every single day, what hidden depths might we all discover if we just learn to embrace a little bit of silence?